Welcome to Moments with Marianne. This is your host, Marianne Pastana, and I am so excited to be celebrating 10 years of meaningful conversations with you. As we step into our new primetime hour, it's such an honor to share this exciting new chapter with you. So whether you're starting your day out, headed to work, or listening from wherever you are, this hour is designed to bring you thoughtful dialogue, fresh insight, and inspiring stories so you can make every moment count. So thank you for being here with me today, and let's dive in. We're here today with special guest, Dr. Darby Bonomi, who's here to share with us her new book, Unshrinkable: Why Strong Women Secretly Criticize, Diminish, and Thwart Themselves, and How to Stop It. So why do high-achieving women struggle to own their success? Well, today's guest is here to share with us just that. Dr. Darby Bonomi is a sports and performance psychologist who has facilitated transformations in hundreds of high-achieving individuals. After 2 decades as a clinical psychologist, psychoanalyst, and faculty member at the San Francisco Psychoanalytic Institute, she shifted her focus to performance coaching in 2016. So welcome to the show, Dr. Darby Bonomi.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my goodness, what a great honor it is to have you here and to talk about this book. So I guess it's best to start at the beginning. Like, what even inspired you to write this?
Well, this book has been in process for a long time, but I really wanted to share my 30 years of experience of working with women and also share a bit about my personal story. So it's interesting what happened. This book really came about a year ago when I was sitting with a friend who's an author, a businesswoman, an entrepreneur, and we were talking about my work. And she said, "You have to do this. You just got to do this, and I'm going to help you." And it was a moment, Marianne, where it was a moment of mentorship. It was in that moment, my friend Julie saw me shrinking. She saw me, she heard my excuses. I'm too busy, blah, blah, blah. And she said, "Stop." And thanks to Julie, I got myself a team of folks to help me. I put it in my schedule and I wrote the book. And what's beautiful to me is that this is a book of mentorship. That is the call to action, and that is a large purpose of the book. And so I am hoping that I am sharing the wisdom of the mentor of my many mentors have shared with me, and I'm sharing that wisdom with you. And I'm hoping that all of you who read it will share that wisdom with each other.
So why do so many high-achieving women play small even after earning authority?
Well, honestly, I think we just never feel that we're good enough somehow. I think we always feel we have to be better before we go out and do something or write something. And that was part of my friend's message to me. As she was saying, "You're enough. You have 30 years of experience. You have all these credentials. You are enough." And I think, you know, so many of the times when I'm working with women, they feel like they need to be something more. And I experienced that also. I thought, well, I should go do something else. But no, so I think that's almost a very common challenge for us women. And that's where we can help each other out. We can say, "You are enough right now where you are. You are enough. Go do this."
So no matter where we're at in life, how many negative stories we've been told, or perhaps even mixed messages about who we are, we can start to gain clarity.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think the first step is recognizing that we want to take a next step or start a new chapter in our lives, pardon the pun. That's the first step. And then and then finding people to help us, finding it's important. So let me explain a little bit about a mentor role, right? A mentor is someone who sees you, who you are right now, but also sees your big vision, sees your dream. And that's what my friend and other mentors, I have many mentors in my life, as I'm sure you do, right? They see where you're going. Sometimes these people see more clearly than you do, or they hold you accountable to the vision. And so it's very important, if you're wanting to take a next step in a different direction or make new choices, that you have people in your life, or you find those people who see where you want to go, see where you are, and affirm that, and help you on that path.
So, what type of patterns were you seeing that just repeat in high achieving women?
Well, one of the big themes in my work and in my book is perfectionism, and all everyone I work with, I think, across the board, is highly driven, highly perfectionistic. Now, that's not to say and this is true of myself as well. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being a perfectionist, right? A lot of us high achievers, highly driven people, I mean, that's a great quality. It motivates us, it keeps us striving, we want to be better, and all that's good stuff. But when your perfectionism, I'll include myself in that, when our perfectionism gets into what I like to call our red zone, where it becomes crippling, right? I was talking to a client yesterday, where she was telling me, this is a young woman. She was saying, I go over and over and over my work. At first, I'm satisfied with it, but by the fifth time I go over it, I'm just picking it apart. And she even admitted, I think unnecessarily. She said, I'm picking it apart unnecessarily. So this was a really important example in her life of her perfectionism in the red zone, right? It was no longer driving her, but it was actually destroying her work. That's a strong word, but so I think perfectionism is one of those traits that we really have to manage, right? If you find that your perfectionism is driving you, awesome. But if it's constraining your creativity, if it's stopping you from experimenting or starting new things, then those are signs you're in the red zone, and it's time to it's time to take a look, or take a pause at what you're doing to yourself and the things that you're saying to yourself.
How would you define playing small, especially for women who have achieved so much?
It'll show up in, I'm trying to think of a good example. It'll show up in ways that they are judgmental of themselves, in unproductive ways. It shows up in them not starting. A lot of these high achieving women that I'm talking about, they're often trying to start something new. And so the playing small will be the self-doubting, the unnecessary self-doubting, the uber criticism. It'll be even like in myself, right? The hesitation to go ahead and do it. So that's where I think playing small shows up in high achieving women.
Well, it's so interesting when we look at high achieving women just in work environments. I know sometimes they'll have a boss that will put them down because they like to play into that I'm not good enough theme. And it would seem that that would be an easy thing to kind of get caught into, if not caught with a mentor or someone who's also working with you to move beyond these kind of things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, if you're in an environment where your boss is putting you down, I mean, that's uh, that's really tough, and you have to think about that. What kind of environment are you working in or existing in? That'd be really hard for me. I
Yeah.
think I find that. Uh, I mean, I don't even know what to say about that. Like, right, we need to lift each other up. We're all, everyone I work with and pretty much everyone I hang out with is very self-critical, and we need each other to say, no, you did a good job on that. Maybe you didn't get the win you were hoping for, but I see the effort. I see the dream. Give yourself some credit. And in fact, this is an interesting thing that has occurred over and over in my practice, where, especially with young women, right? We'll be working on something and they will have made some progress. And I'll say to the young woman, "Are you proud of yourself?" And she'll say, especially the like late teens, and she'll say to me, "No, no, I can't be proud of myself. No, that would be cocky." And I've had this happen so many times, Marianne, I can't tell you. And I'll say to them, "Well, wait a minute. You worked on something, it improved, you achieved what you set out to achieve, and there's no space to be proud of yourself?" Hmm. Right. And I'll poke at that a little bit. I think we're so, why am I bringing that up? Because we are in this environment, or at least in the environment of the women that I work with, we're just so conditioned to be so self-critical and so self-doubting. And we don't need anyone in our lives that piles that on. What we need in our lives are people that say, "No, no, I see you. I see how hard you're working. You may not be there yet, but you're getting there." Um, and that's part of what I try to provide.
In your book, you talk about the good girl condition and how it continues to influence women in leadership roles. Can you share on that for us?
Yeah, well, most of us women are conditioned to be nice, right? Not make any ripples. Don't say anything that makes anyone uncomfortable. Be careful speaking our mind. And excuse me, it that makes it hard to be leaders, right? As leaders, we have to point things out that sometimes are uncomfortable, right? We have to say the thing that doesn't that nobody else wants to say. So it really does get in our way, if we are following that conditioning, because it just interferes with us, saying a lot of the things that need to be said, either whether that's to our staff or to each other, our colleagues. And so we have to really take a look at that. If that's how we were brought up, which is how I was brought up, don't make waves, don't create any tension, right? I've had to work long and hard to intervene with myself. Um, and women are also conditioned as good girls, right? Not to don't say anything that might create conflict. But conflict, right? I'm not talking about huge conflict, but disagreement between team members, good discussion, good debate. That's where a lot of great creative work happens, right? It's really something we quote unquote good girls have to work against.
It's so phenomenal what women have to go through in order just to show up authentically in a workspace. And I love how your book really takes women through piece by piece on how to kind of strip away these titles and these different, I don't want to call them conditions, but different feelings that we have. And one of your takeaways in your book, which I love, you talk about you don't have to diminish your brilliance to be worthy. I mean, how true is that?
Absolutely, absolutely, right? Absolutely. Well, I think we often feel that if we shine too brightly, others, we might outshine someone. Someone might be threatened. And again, that goes against the good girl conditioning, right? And I think we often, as women, this came up in a book talk I gave the other day, is the feeling that some women have that other women won't champion them, shine, that won't support them shining, that there's a competitiveness and between women. And I have found that to some extent, but what I've really found much more is that women do lift each other up. We see each other's struggles, and I see women helping each other, helping each other shine all the time. I mean, my experience in writing this book and talking about this book has been extraordinary in terms of other people helping lift me up and also lifting others up. So, um, uh, yeah, let's go out there and shine.
I agree with you on that. And I was just shocked when you mentioned earlier about the younger girls. I mean, they accomplish these tasks, they are moving forward, and they can't be proud of the work that they did. So, is there like a habit of minimizing our wins that women tend to have as opposed to being able to celebrate them?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Again, I think that, somehow we get afraid that others are going to envy us or feel competitive with us. That would make ripples. Um, there's a really interesting example that someone shared with me yesterday. She's a C-level person at a company, and she wrote something up that was going to go out on their blog, and she gave it to her female colleagues, for some feedback. And one of the women gave it back to her. It was a piece of paper with a post-it note on it that said, "Just my thoughts, take it or leave it," or something. And the person that I was talking to talked to this team member and said, "Don't ever do that again," meaning don't ever diminish your thoughts. I asked you for your thoughts and your feedback on this paper, and I wanted them. Don't diminish what you have to say. I really wanted to hear what you had to say. I wanted your feedback. But that was such a great example because my friend did want the feedback, but the other woman was really afraid. She gave feedback, but then she had to minimize it. She had to diminish herself. She didn't truly believe that my friend wanted to hear from her, including what might be criticisms. That's the whole reason she gave the paper to them, to the team. So I thought that was just a beautiful example, and a beautiful example of my friend mentoring her teammates and affirming, "No, I want to hear from you. I want to hear your voice. I want to hear what you have to say."
Oh my goodness, how many of us do that because we're afraid that we're going to hurt somebody or step on toes or, maybe speak out of turn. So to do it in a way that really empowers our voice, I mean, what a gift that is.
Yeah, yeah. No, absolutely, absolutely. We have to be less afraid of criticism. We're so, especially in this culture generally, I think, afraid of making any mistake. I mean, there's something I find with women, right? Oh my goodness, what if we make a mistake? And what happens then is we're afraid to learn. We're afraid to start. I find that a lot in my work when I work with young entrepreneurs, that they're afraid to be at the beginning of something, which connects to being afraid of making a mistake. But as you know, we all have to start somewhere in whatever we're doing, and and we have to allow for mistakes. That's the only way we learn, right? Whether it's learning to walk when we're, a year old, or whether that's learning to write, or learning to, be a radio show host, or whatever it is, right? We have to be able to allow ourselves to learn. And anyway, I feel I'm a big champion of that, but I see how afraid women, it seems like, and young girls are to make any sort of mistake.
Even radio show hosts.
Indeed, even psychologists.
Oh my gosh. Well, and to dovetail with that, so I mean, women are just we have so much on us. So why is ambition? I mean, why is that still uncomfortable to say out loud for women?
You know, that is really a good question. And I think somehow it feels aggressive somehow. It feels like, why should we want to be better? Why should we want to win? Somehow it feels threatening, I think, at least to some women. And I think they feel it's going to threaten others. That's again why we need to champion each other, right? And I'm so grateful to my friend who said, "No, go write the book. Your book needs to be written, right? Put your hat in the ring." So, but I think somehow it feels ambition feels aggressive to us, which doesn't feel okay if we're supposed to be nice and not make waves. And this is why, not to divert, but sports is such a great, competitive sports are so great for women, right? Because we're sanctioned to be, in the arena of sports, right? We can be aggressive. We can go after the ball. We can score the goal. Right, and it really teaches us to be able to do that and not be afraid of our ambition. It's not the only arena, but it is a very, very important arena.
Do you think if we reframe it to our dreams and goals, it makes it softer for women to accept?
Yes, right, because it doesn't imply the I want to be the best, which seems aggressive or too assertive somehow. Agreed.
Even though we might want to be, right?
Yeah, I do want to be the best. Yeah. Great. So, yeah, no, I think it does soften it. We're always softening things. Right.
Too much, I
Right.
know, right?
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
your book, you have this saying, go ride your horse. What does that mean?
That means stop overthinking it and go do it. Right? That's actually a phrase that comes from my horse trainer, because I'm a competitive equestrian, and we've honed it over time. And she'll say that to me when I'm overthinking, being too self-critical. And overthinking means, it's kind of just thinking that actually isn't productive thinking, right? It's usually something that diminishes performance, not enhances it. So, and she'll say, "Look, go ride your horse." Meaning, there's so much packed into that. Meaning, just go do it. You've got this. Stop being so perfectionistic, right? It means all those things. It's like a free. It's a mantra. Like, just go do it, right? Again, I used this the other night at a book talk, and we transformed it into go write the paragraph, go do it, or as my friend Julie said to me, go write the book, stop overthinking it, go do it. It's a kind of a release. So I share that with all my clients, even those who aren't actually writers.
I love that saying. I think it's just so perfect, you know. And so for women that are looking to maybe just work through the pressure to be competent without being seen as too much, how do we do that?
I think that you've got to own your pressure, right? You have to own, if you're talking about the pressure to be competent, the pressure, let's make it more specific because it'll be easier for me to think about. Like if you're working through, if you're feeling the pressure to be the best whatever, fill in the blank, right? You got it. That big pressure is too much. I call that blanket pressure. And I deal with this all the time in my work. Someone wants to be the best. They'll be the best whatever, right? And I say that's the pressure that you're describing right now feels suffocating to me, right? We have to break it down. Okay, right now, today, in this moment, what are we working on? Whether that's you as a radio show host, or whether that's me as a writer or a writer or a psychologist, what am I working on? Right? We have to take that big pressure that is a little amorphous and often suffocating, and bring it down to right here, right now. And then we put the pressure on those specific things, right? We work on those, and then tomorrow we retool and we work on the next set of pressures. So I do that with my riders, but I do that with everyone I'm working with if it's an entrepreneur, right? Yes, it doesn't help to think, I want this business to be successful. Of course you do. What do we have to do right now? What do we have to take care of today, right? So make the pressures specific to the present time. That's one way we manage that.
I think that's such important just advice, because how often do we put this huge blanket and then it seems so overwhelming? It's like, how are we going to accomplish all of this? It's just too much.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And I always say, of course, you want to. I have a lot, like I said, I have a lot of late teens who are in high school or applying to college. And I say, of course, you want an A on that chemistry test. I know you want to get an A, but thinking about getting an A or thinking about winning, that doesn't actually help address the task. Right. So, of course, so I always say, let's set that aside. Let's put it on our metaphorical bookshelf over here. Right. And let's figure out, what do we need to do today, right now, to move forward? And it definitely alleviates the pressure. It makes the pressure more usable in some way. Right. There's always pressure, but we want to harness it or manage our pressures.
So, in your book, you talk about grow into who you already are. What do you mean by that?
Well, I think a lot of us um, don't see ourselves clearly enough. Again, to use that same example of sitting at dinner with my friend who saw me as an author. She already saw it, right? I was reluctant to see myself that way. I had my resistances and I could give you all my excuses, but she saw that. So she was issuing the invitation to me to say, grow into who you are. You're already this. You're already becoming this. So that's what I mean by that. Right? Step into who you already are. See who you already are. And that includes those seeing the vision. Where are you going? Right? And where do you want to go, and where are you going? Lift your eyes. Um, it also connects for me into the issue of identity. Okay, so if you, how we, you, I, and everybody who's listening, identify really impacts how we think about ourselves, how we feel about ourselves, and then how we choose to behave, the actions that we choose to take. Okay, and a simple example of this is um, if you identify as an athlete, right? If you think of yourself that way, then or if you identify that way, then you think about yourself in certain ways, right? And then you feel certain ways about yourself, and then you make different choices. So if you're an athlete, what does an athlete do? Well, an athlete has to get up in the morning and has to stretch and has to warm up and has to work out. And an athlete has to has to make generally will make different nutritional choices, right? Because she's an athlete, right? Versus somebody who works out twice a week. Right. So it's very powerful how you identify, or to use myself as an example, identifying myself as a writer. I'm a writer. Well, what does that mean? Well, it means certain things about my behavior, right? How I'm going to structure my week so that I am writing. So that's how you identify in the various ways is a very powerful tool. And I encourage everyone to think about that. How am I identifying? And is it aligned with where I'm aiming to go?
I love that. It's really encouraging us to step up and show up bigger than what we are doing currently.
Absolutely. Right? Yeah. No, I have uh, a client who this is really beautiful example. She is an athlete by, objective, all objective data. She's an athlete. She was a runner, she's a skier, she's a hiker, she's a rider. But she didn't identify as an athlete or as a runner. She didn't call herself. She did those things, but she didn't. So anyway, through lots of work on our part and a lot of talk about identity, she decided one day, even though she was doing 10Ks, I mean, she was doing the thing, but she wasn't thinking about herself that way, right? Um, so finally, she decided in the midst of a 10K run that she would identify as a runner, and and the switch in her mind changed her experience. One thing that she taught me or brought to my attention was, she said, Darby, all of a sudden, I am a runner in a community of runners. I belong in this group. And so here she's running this 10K, but she feels the gift of the community, which enlarged her world. And it was just so beautiful, right? And then she started deciding that she could run faster, and that she identified with other women who were running at a clip faster than she was. Anyway, it was a beautiful story about how identity connects us with community, which then of course supports the identity. So I love that story.
I love that story too. It really shows how we can push ourselves beyond what we think is possible. I love that.
Yeah, yeah.
So, what does it mean to become unshrinkable?
Well, it means that uh, we are going to notice those moments that we diminish ourselves. Um, we're going to notice in ourselves, and we're going to catch ourselves, and we're going to change our thinking. We are going to notice moments of our friends and colleagues and other, maybe even people we don't know, shrinking and are diminishing themselves. And we're going to lend a hand there. And we're not going to accept those moments where other people inadvertently or advertently attempt to shrink us or put us in a box, right? We are not going to, like I say, we are not shrink to fit. We're not shrinking to fit anybody's else's version of who they think we should be, right? We're not accepting that anymore. But mostly the book is about our own shrinking, right? That we do it. We women tend to do that to ourselves many times a day, unfortunately. So mostly the book is about catching ourselves in our own self-diminishment, and intervening and changing course.
So, for those listening today and they're recognizing some of the patterns that we've been talking about, what is one place they can start a shift today?
It always starts by noticing. Notice when you say, I'm just a fill in the blank. That word just is one that I would eradicate from uh, from my vocabulary. Oh, I'm just, it's just my thoughts, right? But the first step is noticing. The first step is possibly the most powerful step, is noticing and then changing. And then as you notice, because you can't make any change unless you can notice, um, those points in your self-talk that you want to change, right? So noticing and then deliberately changing your self-talk. So those are two very powerful steps. Deciding that you're going to change your self-talk, right? Noticing those points where you're being uber critical of yourself in a judgmental way, right? That's different, right? Noticing and then shifting. Sometimes writing something down. For some people, journaling does help because you can keep better track and keep yourself accountable. So that's also another place to start if you're a journaler. I'm not someone who likes to journal, but some people find it very, very powerful.
Oh my goodness, Darby. I mean, your book, Unshrinkable, is such a profound read. Where can our listeners go to connect with you and be part of your community?
Well, my website is a great place. That's darbybonomi.com. And you can find the book on the book's website. It's also on my website, but the book has its own website. It's called unshrinkablebook.com.
Well, Darby, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
Thank you so much. It was a real pleasure. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Darby. It's been such an honor to spend this time with you and to talk about your new book, Unshrinkable: Why Strong Women Secretly Criticize, Diminish, and Thwart Themselves, and How to Stop It. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. You're listening to Moments with Marianne, where we make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.